Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here with another review for you. The game I'm going to show you today is called Posthuman. Posthuman is a game that is straight out of the crazy world of Road Warrior or Mad Max or A Boy and His Dog. Stop me before I sub-reference yet another pop culture movie reference again. This is apocalyptic future where, and strangely enough, there are no zombies in this one. It is you against mutants. Basically what it is, each player will take the role of a survivor in this crazy world gone mad due to, take your pick, nuclear fallout, a pandemic, who knows what, space virus. And you're trying to travel through the wilderness from your safe haven as your supplies are running low. You've heard rumors of a city, a fortified city that has food and fresh water and medical supplies, and if you can just make it there, you'll be able to live out your days in relative safety. And so each person, whether you're a former cop or a convict or a gladiator fighter, or some sort of mystic or whatever, you each have your different powers and abilities and items that you start with, and you begin this trek. And along the way, you won't really... you can help each other in the way that you can kind of meet up a little bit, and you can make trades and things like that. But for the most part, it's every person for themselves. Especially since it is very likely that several of the people that are playing are going to turn into mutants as the game progresses. Basically, when you run into a mutant enemy, if they harm you, regardless of whether or not you win the combat, you run the risk of being infected. And as your infection grows, you will turn into a mutant. And once you've turned into a mutant, then your focus shifts from trying to make it to safety to trying to make sure that no other human actually makes it to safety. So your role actually gets changed. And but you don't lose the game, because if you can actually turn all the players at the table from mutant into human, or human into mutant, I should say, you win the game at that point. So I'm going to show you how to play the game. It's a tile laying game, but it has a lot of dice and a lot of rolling, a lot of cards. So it definitely fits into my thematic Ameritrash roots, if you will. I'm going to go over the gameplay, which will take a little bit of time, and then we'll come back here as always, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Posthuman and what I think of it. All right, cool. Well, let me show you how to play this cool little game. Alright, I'm just going to start off by saying that this is not what you're going to probably see when you set up your own game of Posthuman, because of the fact that I wanted to make sure that you had all the cards and could see everything. Normally all these decks of cards would be on the edges of the table, and each person that is playing is going to have their own character sheet, and they're going to have their own location tile that they're going to build their little map that their character is going to travel around upon and try to eventually make it to the fort that will save them. So just bear that in mind. And of course, this is a prototype, so whereas a lot of the stuff you see is going to be pretty much the same once the game is published, what you see isn't exactly indicative of how that will appear. As I said, each person is going to get a little character sheet, if you will. There are several different types of characters, the former cop, the speedy guy, the mystic lady, the cage fighter, and I've chosen this one because he has a beard, and that is the convict. This looks like a lot of information, and it is, but as you play the game, it's as you can probably guess, fairly self-explanatory as you play. You have the different stats, so you have a mind stat, a speed stat, strength, melee, and shooting. And you will put cubes on here to represent the level of that. So you just put the cube, obviously, in the location that they are. These little things that are over here basically tell you a quick little crib sheet, if you will, for what you get when you get to that level. Speed, obviously, and mind, those are for the different types of skill cards that you can get. You have the strength. The higher your strength, this is extra damage when you're in melee. So with the strength of 4, which the convict has, he'll do an extra point of damage in melee combat. If you can get your melee up to 5, you get what's called the brawler skill. So basically you'll hit more often. And with shooting, the higher you get your shooting skill up, the more dice you get to roll when you're firing a weapon. And then at the very end, you can see there's this little tiny dot there. That's like adds the marksmanship skill. And you can level up your character as you play. You'll get experience, and you'll be able to either pick up new skills or raise stats and things like that. So this is a game that you embody your character, if you will. You have your health bar, your morale bar. If either of those ever go down to 0, you technically die in the game, but you're not knocked out. You go back to your starting square and you lose some of the progress that you've made. And usually you have to spend some time camping and recuperating there, and while everybody else is off having fun. You have a hunger level as well. You have to eat food or else you lose points in the hunger, and you can see there's these little tiny stats there. You lose a morale, and then you lose a morale and a health, 2 morale and a health, until finally you just die. If you choose not to eat, because you can just choose not to eat, that'll go down. But as soon as you eat, you start replenishing it back up. So you could not eat twice, then you could find some food, and then you could get back up one and back up another. Couple of places here where you keep your both your food and your bullets, and then you have your space in your backpack here. When you find items, they'll tell you how much space they carry, and then you'll have to place that, and sometimes you'll have to just drop stuff, which kind of stinks, of course, whatever. And then this tells us what here. We start with a knife, a pistol, 3 food, and 2 ammo. That's what the convict starts with. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to dig in here and see if we can. These are the starting items. So we got a knife. Let's see, we got a knife. Let's see if we can find the knife here. And well, there's a pistol. That's what we got. We got our knife, and we had some food and some. So like when you put your weapons, you can. This is your active weapons are over here. Both your melee. You get to pick 2. So let's take these starting items and get rid of them because we don't need to look through that. Now everybody will do this, obviously. Everybody will have their own little starting area. And then we had 3 food, which will go like so. And then 2 ammo. So there we go. So now we have our character set up with the starting stats. And every character obviously has different abilities, and different, the cop is better at shooting. The cage fighter, as you can probably guess, is great at brawling. But I mean, I like the convict. He's kind of average, if you will, in a lot of things. And he seems very resilient. I've had some good luck with him when I was playing. Oh, I forgot to mention the one thing that I didn't mention here. At the top here is your journey. When you complete a tile and successfully explore it all, you'll go up on this journey level here. And then you eventually get to these 2s and eventually get to 3s. And if you can get to the end here, you'll win the game. There's a chance you'll get turned into a mutant while you're playing the game, which is part of the whole process of Posthuman. And as soon as you become a mutant player, then your goal is to take down the other players. And you win if you're able to convert all the humans into mutants. But I'll talk more about the endgame stuff here when I talk about the game in my conclusion. So you have this and you have that, and the game is fairly straightforward as far as the process of the turns. Oh, my mistake. I totally forgot to put my little wooden cubes in the right spots. So we go mind at 2, speed at 3, strength at 4, shooting at 3, and then the other ones, they say to fill them up, but I don't, because it's just too many cubes and you kind of bounce them off, in my opinion. So the max health is going to be, for this guy, it's going to be 9, because his strength is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. I knew that it was there. And then his morale is his mind plus 5, and so that is at a 7. So we'll go ahead and place that there. So we have that set up. Oh, and then hunger, you place a cube right there because we are right now fine. And then we're going to go ahead and place a blue cube there to show that we're starting off on our journey towards this fort. Oh, and I forgot to draw my skills. Gosh. So because his mind is at level 2, I get to draw 1 mind skill. And then if it got higher, you'd actually have the option to draw several cards and discard one. Or like at the highest level of mind, you get to draw 3 and keep 2. 4 you get 3 and keep 1, and at 3 you get 2 and keep 1. So let's see what mind skill I drew here. 6th Sense. Ignore the effects of the ambush and sniper enemy skills during combat. Oh, discard this card to stop mutants from playing mutant actions directly on you this turn. So that's kind of a nice one. Maybe being a convict, he kind of learned to have eyes in the back of his head in the yard, if you will. So because the speed is 3, I get to draw 2 speed cards and I get to keep 1. So here we have skill bows and he's a bows expert. Bows and crossbows. That basically what that means is that I get extra damage when if a player has marksman, so 2, or crack shot. Reroll any single die once before the shooting phase in combat. Once during the shoot. Well, I'm going to take this one because who knows if I'm going to actually find a bow or a crossbow. So we're going to take that one and we'll discard the other card. So there. Now I have my starting skills, and that's kind of a neat little way that you get to expand your character and have extra things and things going on with them. So, all right. So when you have your turn, and the first player doesn't really matter in this game. When you have your turn, you have I should say action cards. Here's Scout, Camp, Forage, and Move. Okay, when you scout, if you choose to scout, you look around you in every spot. Here's my starting tile here. I'll show you this. The starting tile like this shows that it is a forest tile. This little kind of light blue thing means it's a safe zone, which means that if I camp here, I get extra health. Normally when you camp, you just heal 2 health, but when you camp here, you can either get 1 health or 1 morale, just because it's a nice, safe place. This means that if I ever forage here, I get to draw 1 supply card, which is over there. More on that in a little bit. And this little token here, what that means is that if I ever forage here, I flip it over, and that means you can't forage here anymore. So basically, you've looked through the whole place, and you're not going to find anything more. So you can see these dots on the side, means those are the exits. So if I scouted, what I would do is I would draw 3 terrain tiles, and I'd place them in the locations surrounding me, and however I wanted, and that would show it. Now, if I didn't want to scout, and I wanted to just take a gamble and move, you just take a terrain tile, you pick a direction that you're going to move, and then you go there. And then you're going to go into an encounter spot, which I'll explain also a little bit. Forage, I just already explained that. Once a spot is fully explored, you can forage and collect equipment. It's obviously very important to do that. And finally, camp. Camping, what that does is it allows you, as I said, to gain some health back. One of the nice things is that if you have human players that are on the same type of spot, like this one was a forest, so if somebody else is on a forest tile, you don't really technically on the same spot as their tile, because everybody's going to have their own, they're going to build their own little map themselves. You're not going to run into each other technically. But you can choose to camp with that other person, and then you can you can exchange items and so on and so forth at that point, and that's another aspect of the game that you can have. So if you choose to camp, you can do. And remember, add +2 health at the end of the camping phase, and a further +1 health or morale if you're in a safe house. So that's technically a safe house, but we're at full health. Oh, and the other thing, if you camp, if you're in a safe house, you don't have to eat food. It's just considered that there's food there, and you don't have to process that on that particular turn. So on your turn, you'll pick one of those 4 actions, and you'll do one of those 4 actions. And usually you want to move, because you want to move, you want to get another location, so you can investigate that location, and then you can get this track moving forward, and you can get to the fort that you're looking for. So what we'll do here is I'm just going to say I picked move, and each person is going to reveal that. Now, at the beginning, it doesn't really matter if you reveal or whatever, but later on, people are going to turn into mutants, and the mutants are going to be wanting to attack and find you and kill you and turn you into a mutant. So what will happen in that situation is they have these mutant action cards, which I'll show you in a little bit. But depending on what you decide to do, the mutant action cards will have an effect on that as far as your choices. So anyway, so let's just draw a terrain tile. We can see what we get here. Well, this is kind of neat. This is actually a really good one. There are, if I can successfully forge this, I get to draw 3 supply cards. It is considered to be a city. And there are these 3 encounter areas. So I get to place this wherever I want. So we'll just go ahead and bam, like that. And then you immediately take your guy and put him there on a move action. You take him and you go ahead and you put him in that first encounter spot like there. So now we have to draw an encounter and we have to resolve it. The interesting, you can see this encounter is level 1, level 2, and level 3. And you can see that there on this track, there's level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s. I have to draw level 1s in this case because there's no level 0 I can draw. And if I can successfully do 4 tiles at level 1, then I'll move up to level 2. And so when I draw another terrain tile to explore, then I'll draw level 2. If I want to, I can choose to draw level 1 after I've moved up on this track because I'm not powerful enough or I'm hurting and I want an easier encounter. I can draw a lower level encounter. But if I do that, as soon as I do that once on one of these tiles, at that point I can never gain anything on this track. I have to make sure that I'm always doing the maximum possible explore that I can do. So in this case, what will usually happen is I'll take this card and I'll flip it over for an encounter. And we see here I've run into an ultra-violent human. And so he has a speed of score of 2, he's got 3 health, and he's got an attack value of 3. So, you know, that's his melee combat. He doesn't have any range combat, so I can possibly shoot him and kill him before he can actually get to me. So what we're going to have to do is, and there's some other things here, like he's frenzied, so +1 attack die he gets to roll. And then, because in melee combat, everybody rolls 3 dice, and then if you have a higher melee, then you get an extra die, but this guy's going to actually get another one. And also, you can see right there, there's a little shield there. I'm going to show you combat here in just a second, but those shield results, if you roll them when you attack, normally they'll block a hit that somebody does to you. But in this case, since he's frenzied and he's crazy, that would be a miss, so he's not worried about defending himself. But you can see that because he's so powerful, if he gets a question mark, that is considered a hit as well. So now I have a situation where I can choose if I want to. I can try to run away from him. In which case I would roll against my speed, you roll a die and add my speed, and he would roll a die and add his speed, and then I would try to get away. If I get away from him, it doesn't mean I don't have to have an encounter. I have to draw another card. And if the person that is chasing you catches you, if they have a gun, if they have a ranged combat, they can shoot you. And you don't get to fire back. But in this case, he doesn't have a gun. I'm pretty confident I can take out this ultra-violent human, if you will. Oh, and I should mention also, there on the bottom, you can see if I take him out, he's worth 1 experience point. Sometimes they'll have a minion here. Like, they'll say they'll have an extra person on the card. I'll show you one of those. I'll dig one out. And in this case, if there was, then you draw minions. These are human minions. These are mutant minions. And so, the nice thing is this guy's not a mutant, so there's if he wounds me, he's not going to possibly... when you get hit by a mutant, you have to draw a mutation scar, and that can have some negative effects. And the more mutation scars you get, the quicker you're going to turn into a mutant, if you will. So combat is pretty simple. You are going, like I said, you compare melee. I have technically more melee than the ultra-violent guy. I have a 4, and plus I have a gun. So really smart thing for me to do, probably, even though it's going to cost me ammo to do it, I can go ahead and I can use my gun. Now, I get 2 dice because of my 3 shooting. And if you look at the gun, you can see I use up 1 ammo when I shoot. These little blocks there, that tells you how much space it takes if I'm carrying it. But I'm using it as a weapon here at this point. And then if I roll a question mark, it does 2 wounds. So, and these are the dice. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. These are the dice I'm going to roll. And you can see they have all these different results on them. And here, let me actually show you the rules and show you what those results do. So it might be tough for you to read this, but okay, so this means you cause 1 wound with the die. This means that I cause 1 wound with this die if it has a modified range of 2 or more. This means you cause, if it's 3, special, you consult it, and the skill shall count as a wound if you have the appropriate class of weapon expert skill, or if you have the marksman skill. Remember I had that bow thing that I didn't use? If you have both, the player deals 2 wounds, and then an X just flat out misses. Now remember, I can reroll 1 single die once during this. So I'm going to get 2 dice. Yes, 2 dice. Why do I have 3? I have no idea. So I'm hoping, since this guy's got 3 health, getting a question mark would be really helpful in this situation. Let's see what I get happening here. So I get a 1, which means that I'm going to do 1 wound to him with that. And I got a 3, which that's a miss because this pistol has a range of 1. So I'm going to re-roll this. I'm going to hope for a question mark. Because if I get a question mark, I'll kill him. Nope, I got an X. So I just do 1 wound. But fine, 1 wound, that's good, right? So I blast that guy with 1 damage, and then now he gets into melee. So now we actually have to compare results when we're doing melee. Now, there is one thing. If you have a high enough speed, which I don't, you do get to add these little green dice with these extra shield markers on them. They're on 2 sides. A speed of 4 gives you 1 more die. And a speed of 5 will give you 2 of those dice. So, but I don't have that, unfortunately. So, I have a melee of 4. This guy's got a melee of 3. Normally, in these cases, everybody gets 3 melee dice, and then if you have more, you get a 4th. If they have like a minion, if they have extra people that are following them, they get an extra 1. There's all these different variables. But if you remember correctly, the ultraviolet, because he's frenzied, he has +1 to his attack die. So, let's just see what I got here. So, we have this, we have a knife, and it once again takes up the space, and so we need to roll. And the weird thing is that question marks, when you roll them, you do 3 rounds of melee combat, and hopefully hopefully you're able to defeat them in those 3 rounds, or they're not able to. So let's see what I get here. Let's see. Well, I got a shield, which is good. Shields are good. And because if they do damage, if he does damage to me, I can negate that. And I got these results. This little little X mark, and has a little wound symbol on it. And those are fantastic results because that is called a critical hit. So they are considered a hit, meaning I've hit the person that I'm fighting, and I will do damage to them equal to the number of these dice that are left in play. If you get an X result, you actually remove the die from play, and so then you don't get them. So right now I'm looking at actually doing a ton of damage to this Frenzied Warrior. So now we're going to roll for the Frenzied Warrior here real quick, and we'll see what we get here. So he got a question mark, which gives him a hit. He got an X, which is nothing. He got another, he got a shield, which, remember, because he's frenzied, doesn't count as anything. So he got a question mark and a blast, meaning that he got 2 hits on me. So we're going to compare those hits. Now, remember, if you have the shields, I can go ahead and remove hits that the ultraviolet guy did to me. So in this case, I'm going to take these 2 shields. I'm going to apply them to those hits. I'm going to remove them. I'm left with these 2 hits, plus the critical hit that I'm doing, plus the damage that my weapon does, which is this. And this is during melee combat, this isn't a situation, the winner doesn't take any damage. This isn't a, like, you do some damage to me, I do some damage to you type of situation. So I'm doing 1 for sure. I'm doing an extra 1 because of my strength bonus. Remember that my convict is strong. He gets a +1, so that's an extra +1 too. I've got these 2 little blood marks. That's an extra 2 damage. I'm already killed the guy, but since I did the critical hit, I do even more damage to him. Basically, I just eviscerated this poor guy. And so I've gone ahead and I've taken care of this ultraviolet. I've successfully navigated that particular encounter. I didn't take any damage, which is good, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tuck him over here because he's worth experience. And if I can get up to like 3 experiences, what you first turn in to get like a skill, and then like you hopefully, and then at 6 experience, you get to get rid of any mutation cards you might have, and then over at 10 experience is when you can actually increase one of these results there. But that's like a pretty quick combat, and like combats like in the first level are pretty even and pretty easy to do. Let me just go ahead and draw a couple cards here, and I can show you some of them here, because it's not always a combat. Like here's a good one. This is a hoarder, and like you can just choose to leave them alone. Walk away. Okay, I'm not going to fight you. I don't want to fight you. I don't want to. But if you defeat them and decide to attack them, you get an equipment card. That's pretty cool. Here we have a trapper. You can exchange you can exchange any weapon or piece of equipment or 2 ammo for 2 food. So if you have extra ammo and you want to trade that off, you can do that. Munitions dealer. You can exchange any weapon, piece of equipment, or 2 food for 2 ammo. So you can get some ammo. And yeah, here's a mutant. You can tell because of the green background. They're really quick. He's got, and then you notice this little thing here that says if he does a wound to you, those little scratch marks there says that he does a mutation scar to you. And also twitchy is, as he said, is fast. Ranged weapons count as having -1 range, and he gets +1 defense die when he's coming. So basically he's so fast, he's charging forward, and so it kind of hurts him a little bit because the ranged weapon is lower, but but still it's like he gets an extra defense die and he gets to roll that. But that's kind of the difference there. So when you get hit by a mutant and you take damage, you'll be forced to draw these mutations. You only will ever draw 1, no matter how much damage they do. And sometimes, like here, it's just a scar. It's mutation. But you can get things that actually give you mutations. Like here's an extra arm. So let's see here. Here's massive. Opponent's blocks on combat dice count as misses. So so there's all like these things that you can get that mutate you slowly. Now the big thing about being mutated, well, obviously it changes your abilities and changes your stats a little bit. But here I'm gonna unfortunately ditch that stuff off of there. You can see here that when you have 2, empty scars, but when you have 2 mutations, it's got no effect. And 3 or 4, you can choose if you want to turn into a mutant. And as soon as you get 5 actual mutations, you immediately will turn into a mutant at that time. So, just so I can show you exactly what some of these mutant cards will do. Oh, and I forgot to do an event. I apologize, but we'll get back. We'll do that in just a second. So, mutant actions. When you turn into a mutant, you'll get 3 mutant actions, and you get 3 cards. And you get to pick one, and you'll play one, and then you draw back up. So during your turn, you're not moving around anymore. You'll be doing mutant actions that hopefully you'll be able to attack and disable and wear down the players. So some of them, there's these symbols, so they have to be on these types of locations. Then charge. Roll a melee dice for every strength value you have. For every question mark or critical hit, cause a damage to the player. They can use defense, and they also take armor saves as possible. If you have armor, you can this character doesn't have an armor, but you can find it, and when you do, then it can reduce the damage, obviously. Or like mind control. When a player draws a combat encounter featuring mutants, you take control of the mutant sides. This is something that you'd wait and play when as soon as somebody draws an encounter with a mutant, then you'd be able to take control over them. You can re-roll the attack dice for those, and you can mess with them a little bit. And then just flat out attack. Pick a player in the indicated terrain type above. Resolve a single round of melee. You can use a single weapon from your mutation card, complement attack, and they may shoot at you. Wounds cause a scar. If you have the appropriate mutation, after the round of combat is over, discard. So you can actually start then mutating the other players, which is pretty cool. Now, I should events. I apologize. The first player will draw an event, and this affects everybody. So, these are usually bad. Here, Winter Depression. All players suffer -1 morale immediately. And then, you just lose morale. But there are some good things in here. Heavy rain. No, that forces you to camp. Otherwise, you lose morale. And that stinks if, you're stuck in a spot and mutants are coming to attack you mutant players are. This one's a good one, actually. Togetherness. All players may camp together regardless of further. They get +1 morale when they camp. So it's like everybody gets together and they can, and that's actually really helpful. Or a safe haven event. So the zone you're in counts as a safe haven for this turn. So events are just, and you only draw one, and then you do everybody gets a turn, and then then you draw the next one. And sometimes they have events that last longer or whatever, but usually you're discarding them after that turn. So finally, if you do manage to do all the encounters on a spot by drawing those encounters, what will happen then is you will go up on this track like so, and then you have the choice of, and as soon as that happens, what you'll do is you'll take one of these counters, and on one side it has that little thing there that you haven't foraged yet, and then you put this and you flip it over. It has that X on the forage. So you place this on there, and then you can take an action to forage. Now usually you're going to do this immediately, and after you've done exploring it, but sometimes you'll leave it behind, especially if you don't have a lot of space in your backpack or anything like that. So in this case, you draw 3 supply cards. And this is a city spot, and that's important because when you draw these 3 supplies, you'll go ahead and look in here, and you go to the city spot. In this case, you get 2 ammo, draw a weapon, get 2 ammo, draw an equipment, get 2 ammo, and draw and a food. So that's actually really, so obviously you get a lot. So you're going to, after successfully completing this spot, they're going to get 6 ammo, an equipment, a weapon, and 1 food. So you just take that right out of the thing. So you take 6 ammo, like so. Add that to your bullets, which is pretty amazing if you have that much. You get a food, not as amazing because if you're not eating, obviously you're losing morale. But then we got 1 of each of these. So let's see what we got here. We got another melee weapon. We got a bat. So you can it's a little bit better because you do extra damage on the question marks here. It is 2-handed, so that kind of stinks about it. And then for equipment, you got a gun scope. You can mount this, and then it gets +1 range. So that's pretty awesome. So you get a little better range, and so the dice actually can hit more often. And so you can then, if you want to, you can apply that gun scope to that, and maybe you put the bat in your backpack. And so then when you do put it in your backpack, you have to take the dice and take up the space, because it says the bat takes up 2 space in your backpack, and so you do that. But that is pretty much the game. Either you are trying to make it through as best as you can, fighting off whatever you can and trying to keep food and trying to keep equipment to survive, or you turn into a mutant and you start trying to kill your fellow friends that are sitting at the table. Both sides are a lot of fun to play. I do find being the last human player and trying to survive is probably the most fun part of the game. But I'll talk more about that in my conclusion. I did want to actually show you some of the encounters from the higher level one, just so you can kind of see that later on, you run into things like an expert hunter, that has all the three ranged attack dice and lots of different powers. He's a sniper, always shoots first. You can run into these slicer mutants. You can't evade them because they can ambush you. Of course, you couldn't because I have that sixth sense or whatever. But you do run into much more difficult things as the game progresses. And so hopefully what you've done is you've bettered your character and increased their skills and powers and with equipment and abilities. So you'll stand a chance when you get to that higher level of encounters. So, all right, let me talk to you more about Posthuman here in my conclusion. All right, thanks for watching that. I'm getting through the rules overview, if you will. I forgot one thing, and I just realized it after I got done with that. I did not talk about, I mentioned briefly that if your health or morale got down to 0, what happens? Like I said, you don't die when that happens. You have to go back to the first tile, your starting tile. And if it was your morale that went down to 0, then your morale goes to 1, and then you can trade health for more morale. So you can kind of even it out a little bit, so you don't just rush back out there with only having 1 morale. And if your health gets down to 0, you start with health 1, and then you can reduce your morale to increase your health, so you can kind of even that out before you rush out to your possible doom once again. It should be mentioned also that once you've completely explored a tile, you do not have to go through the whole steps again. It's just a one-step type of situation, and you don't have to have encounters there. That's kind of one of those very important, once you've kind of explored it, portions of the game. If you're dying, though, it's not a good thing, because you get scars and what have you. So you should try to avoid that portion of the game. It isn't like a free teleport back to home base or anything like that. So, all right. So there you go. You should have a pretty good idea of how to play the game of Posthuman. There's a lot about this game that appealed to me from the get-go. I always like games where I'm embodying some sort of persona, and you have different abilities and powers. And the fact that you aren't just flat out having the same skills and every single time you play really appeals to me. I enjoy like having a game fresh, and one of the ways to do that is, yes, you can have the same kind of base character, but you can definitely change it up. You can have different equipment. I mean, the starting equipment is the same, but like as you gain more equipment and different equipment, you kind of expand on that. As you when you get your different skills, you inhabit those. And so like my convict, like he was a crack shot, so he was good with his pistol. You got to reroll that one die, and plus he had that sixth sense. So like you kind of come up with a story for your character. I mean, so he whatever he learned how to shoot a gun with his dad on his farm or whatever before he got he went to jail because he's an ex-con. But like I made that little story about like living in the yard, he learned to have eyes in the back of his head. He had that sixth sense when he knew something was up and something bad was going to happen. So you kind of have that little weird thematic story growing. And then as I played this with my friends, I mean that's what we did. We kind of had that feeling of it, and we this is once again a game that you end up acting it out as you play it. You come up with the story for you. When the mutants are scratching at you and ripping you apart, you talk about it, you're like, clack, clack, clack. You're sitting there trying to you act that stuff out, and you see it in your head as you play. And I like games like that. I like that story that it develops for me as I play it. Also, it's just like I really like the combat system. I like the whole process. You can actually, once again, it feeds into that story. You see something, you're shooting at each other and like running, and like you have one round of ranged combat, and then you get close, and then you get into melee, and it makes sense because like this isn't a world where people are making bullets anymore. So you wouldn't want to be sitting there hiding behind brick walls and whatever, and like firing at each other from a distance. You're getting close, so you can get kind of up close and personal and start those combats with the things that don't require a limited number of bullets or resources, if you will. And so that once again like kind of feeds into that whole story of the game. The probably the best part of the game is the fact that what sets this apart from other like thematic dice combat type games out there. Not only the setting and the story, which is something that kind of bugs me a little bit. I'll tell you in just a quick second. But is the fact that you have that shift going on when players eventually will turn and go to mutant. Now when we played, we kind of had this mentality of like, when you did become mutant, it was you had lost in some way, because the game is set up to defeat you, and the game is set up to get you to lose your humanity, and frankly, being the human is more fun in my opinion. You get to explore the tiles, you get to have these cool encounters, whereas as mutant you just become kind of like this like gotcha goblin, if you will, that is just there to just kind of attack and rip you apart. And whereas, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun when you got another mutant on the table, because you can sit there and talk. It's like, okay, who you gonna get? That guy? You gonna get him this turn? Let me see your card. What's your card's gonna do? And you have that conversation, and you can kind of plot out what you're gonna do to attack the other person, the human players, which is obviously fun. I've always liked being the the gear that gets that goes rusty or whatever and makes the rest of the machine crumble. To be able to throw a wrench in there and mess up what they want to try to accomplish. But when I've won as a human, it is so delectable, especially when you're the last human alive. When you're on that last spot on the track and you're getting to that last location, and you just need to get through that one final tile, and the other mutant players are just throwing cards and doing everything they possibly can to take you out. And when I won a game with the convict in that situation, it was he had like 2 health left, 1 morale left. He had like 2 bullets to his name and no food, but I managed to make it, and I made it to the fortified city, and I definitely saw him as he was racing into the gate and closing it as the mutants were charging. He was definitely giving the 2-finger salute as the door closed, and I could picture that in my mind. It was kind of an epic win, and I really liked that, and so I appreciate a game like Posthuman teaching me that. Now, going back to the thing that kind of annoys me, and this is really quick, 2.5-3 years ago, myself and my gaming group, we exchanged all these emails and these ideas, and we actually were trying to come up with a game that this has a lot to it about. This kind of sort of abstract travel game of trying to get across country and getting away from zombies, and before this basically tactical nuke came in and blew up the area where the zombies were located. And we had gotten to the point where we were actually writing out rules and ideas and coming up with prototype pieces, and then of course it just faded away. And it's always been in the back of my head, and I've been thinking about that game and thinking about, wow, that game would be a lot of fun to make. And then a game like this comes out, and I'm like, there's half of my idea, because we had ideas of people getting bit by zombies, and is it a real bite, or has he been infected, that kind of thing. And we have this mutation scar deck and things like that. And kudos to the designers, but I mean, it's just one of those weird serendipitous things where it's I had these ideas, and then I see this game, and it kind of represents these possibilities and these gaming mechanisms that I was thinking about putting together and trying to make a game, and in this post-apocalyptic world of zombies and humans, and here I have this game. And so in one way, I'm a little upset that there's a game that kind of in my way kind of stole that idea from me and my friends. But another way, I didn't have to go through all the trouble of making the game. And so this idea for a game actually came out, and I really like it. And let's face it, I'll be completely honest, I think it's a lot better than anything I would have come up with. So anyway, so there you go. That was my one minor annoyance with the game. Just basically it was they did it and I didn't do it. So, but there you go. So alright, well, there you go. That's how to play Posthuman. That's my thoughts. I really enjoy the game. If you're a thematic guy, if you're a girl, if you enjoy rolling dice and conflict and a race against time, I really think you should check this game out. It's a heck of a lot of fun. I can't recommend it enough. Basically, I think if you're interested in this game, there's a reason why. It's because of all the different things I just mentioned, all the different possibilities, and as far as the multiple cars, the different equipment, the different encounters, all those things. It's a gritty, wonderful, thematic, fun time, and I definitely think you should check it out. So, all right. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. And until next time, you have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right. Bye-bye.